It's not working. How are you?
I'm good. It turns out that when you attach a new camera to your computer, you have to completely shut down Chrome for it to be recognized.
Do you have a new camera? Did you buy a new camera?
No, I didn't get a new camera, but I was
wired
performing life-saving surgery on my ailing Mac Pro and forgot to plug back in.
You told me you're trying to be cinematic with it.
I'm trying to be I'm just trying to keep it alive at this point. I mean, it's 9 years old, which in computer years is about 75.
Yeah, but it still holds super well. That's a second.
Yeah.
We have the same. For me, it's the second one. It's not the main one anymore, but it works super well still, man.
They are amazing devices. They really are. The 2013 Mac Pro, aka the trash can.
The trash can. Yes, the trash can. I'm now using it to actually do basketball in my office. No, it's not true. It's running the secondary computer. It's running the server. I have the cheese grater, the big one.
Oh,
Yeah, it's lovely, but it's huge. And the good thing is quiet, but it's huge, man. It's overkill. I don't know why I bought this. Anyway,
for some reason I thought it was small, but anyway.
It was, it's hidden under my desk. It was March 2020, so it was like, yeah, well, the end of the world is near anyway, so I might as well just buy this. The good news, you don't have static this time on your end.
Yeah, I think I found the culprit, which is still in place, and I have ordered its replacement.
Oh, okay. No, because guys, we're very sorry, but we seem to have constant sound issues. Either it's me, either it's Alex. We had Alex in a metallic box.
That was so strange.
And some static last time. I hope I don't this time. That's a risk of me actually producing and co-hosting with you at the same time, because I try to hear the levels, but at the same time I just engage with you because you're my friend, because it's fun, and then I simply forget. So sorry, guys. And also sometimes there's drift, so that we cannot control, because we only realize that there's been a little bit of audio drift once we stopped. And I just don't want to deal with it. We know we both have had this issue in the past with also Mastication Nation when you were recording. I hope you restart again one day, man. That there's a slight audio drift, and it's so hard to correct. It's possible, but it's just a pain in the bottom.
It's very hard to correct. It's very hard to correct because it's not a fixed drift. So you can't just go, exactly, and just cut out a little bit.
Yeah.
It grows. And,
right.
Yeah. The joys of podcasting.
Yeah. So guys, that's why sometimes it feels that either Alex and I can read each other's mind, because we laugh at the jokes of each other just before actually the joke is finished. So it's here. Let me just, which one?
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Lots of luck needed for the sound, for anything. Let's start differently. Then let's not start with football. We'll talk about football later, but let's not about football, especially because it hurts both of us. Football later. Yeah, I just mentioned friendship. This podcast is as much as a celebration of travel and the joy of travel and curiosity and discovery as it is a celebration of friendship, ours, and also all the other friendships. Some of them actually were created during that show with people that keep talking to us and with us. And we wanted to mark that day. That day is today. We're the 15th of December, 2022, obviously. And we wanted to remember someone, Ferg.
Yeah, Fergie was one of my best friends. I've known his wife since I was 16, and I knew him for the better part of my adult life. And 3 years ago today, give or take a time zone, he took his own life. So it's always a difficult day for me, a difficult period of the year for me. I'm already getting choked up, but I thought I didn't want to let it pass without acknowledging it in some way. And I think, he would be furious if this was a melancholy or morose mention of him, other than to say, well, you've met him. That's a lovely thing. Not only have you met him, you spent a good amount of time with him in California.
Yeah, he would drink me under the table, obviously. It was such, he's the kind of person, guys, that I hope you've met people like that in your life, that the first time you met him, after 30 seconds, you totally fall in love with him. He was just the most awesome. That was, for context, guys, because we discussed, not about him, but we discussed about it, was when I surprised Alex for his birthday in California. I believe that was in Tokyo, but I was there, and that's how I met Ferg. What a great guy.
He was the great guy. He was a huge guy. He was a 5-tour Royal Marine veteran.
Yes.
And he served in Afghanistan, Iraq, Northern Ireland, and retired after an injury. But he was dad to 3 beautiful kids, including my godson. And he was just a top guy. I mean, you attended his memorial service, and there was 150 people standing, and so there must have been nearly 500 people in that church. The show's kind of.
I think it was also the last time we met before the pandemic.
Jiminy Cricket, you're right. I think that's true. I think that's true. And then we didn't see each other again until we
because
met.
it was
We
the end of
interviewed
2019,
interviewed
so
Mark.
yeah.
So yeah, it was a heck of a celebration for a heck of a guy. And I think for me, what I took out of his passing after sort of the grief all settles down is that men are lousy about talking about mental health. People in general are, but men.
I was about to say exactly the same thing, and I was even about to say that men are lousy about maintaining or keeping friendships.
Yes.
We're not good. There's actually a lot of people talking about the fact that by when we become older, we have less and less friends around us because we suck at basically keeping those friendships around, and we forget we're busy, whatever. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, those two things go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned, and I think it was it's a potent reminder that for me every year just to get in touch with people, and there's a wonderful campaign in Australia called the letter R, the letter U, okay, Are You Okay Day. Started as a day, now it's become a campaign, and it's based on male mental health, and just asking that question. So do me a favor, everybody listening, message a buddy or call a buddy, and just whether you're man, woman, or anything else, ask them if they're okay. Just see how they're doing, because this is a difficult time of year for everybody in the best of circumstances, let alone in 2022. So
I mean, just reach out in general as well. I mean, it's just because, again, we're very this is one of the reasons I want to travel less. I mean, I've kept saying that even before the pandemic, but I'm happy to travel less, is because I want my tribe, my London tribe. In that case, there's this friend Philippe. We did uni together. Very good friend. We lost touch for more than 20 years. I went to live in Asia, etc., as you know, guys, and he went to live in Ecuador. And he moved to London. He lives like 15 minutes away from me.
No way.
Yeah, like in Wimbledon, and Marcus and Camille when he's around, and Christophe and a few other guys. I mean you obviously, and I don't know. I want to have these moments with surrounded by friends. Not that I don't have like you do. We have friends all around the world, which sometimes we miss them because we travel less as well. But I think having a tribe is close to you is important, and just and sometimes you just I don't know, you have a bad day and just want to just hang out. You don't even have to talk about it, but it just makes you feel better. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a recipe or whatever. For me, it just works. But and reach it out to people. We never know what battles people are fighting.
Yeah,
so just be excellent to each other. That's the Church of Ted, and right. Yeah,
I love it. Well, thank you guys for indulging me on that one.
No, of course. So, guys, I know, and I know we know, because we're a travel show, that for some of you probably, not certainly actually, COVID was the pandemic. The fact that you couldn't travel was and probably maybe still is actually something that hurts you maybe as well. So, I mean, I don't have a solution for that, but having people around you is important. So, reach out to each other and be excellent to each other. I think,
Amen.
Amen to that. Talking about since I'm, I usually dedicate the intro song to Gen Kadai, so I'm going to dedicate the intro song to you this time.
God, those movies were good.
Yeah, I hope that people are old enough to recognize the song, right?
Yeah, Police Academy.
Yeah, I know. I had to do it.
It's like that. I probably haven't heard that music in 15 years, but I knew it instantly. Within the first bar, what it was.
I tried to find a quote from Hightower or what's his name, the crazy guy with these guns as well.
Oh yeah.
Tackleberry?
Tackleberry, that's
Tackleberry,
it. Yeah.
Tackleberry.
Jeez.
But there was, I mean, first they've done a lot of stuff on YouTube, but also the quotes are not really one that you can easily, and a few of them, let's put it that way. There's one I really thought about, and then I said, this in the 2022 might not pass as well. But I mean, this movie is so funny. I actually watched, after we talked last time, I watched the first one again because I was like, I mean, I need to watch this, and it's so funny, man. It's still so funny.
They're good.
There's 5 others. There's 5 or 7.
I think
In
at
total,
least
6 or 7.
6 or 7.
6 or 7. So I have 5 or 6 yet to see. I'll find them streaming somewhere. So again, you'll be back for this intro song for the next time. Talking about friendships, I finally met during actually it was during the World Cup, so a few weeks ago, Hakan. So when I say that name, nobody knows who I'm talking about, but he's at LA Flyer.
Yeah, legend.
He was in London with his family for holidays, and we went out just to have a few beers. I think it was a Wednesday afternoon. I know I missed some games. Hakan, I missed some games for you.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Such a good soul, man. Such a good soul. Lots in commons, and of course, I mean, he's Turk, I'm Greek, so of course that helps. I mean, there was no fight for the bill because I preempted that by actually opening a tab and then going, I'm going to the loo. Yeah, right. I already paid for everything. Because I'm not going to let him pay. I said maybe when I go to LA, I'll let you pay. And man, the stories, we told him already that we will invite him. I mean, we're very bad at guests. We will invite him eventually. But man, the stories, I mean, he used to work at Turkish, but also Atlas, handling companies, et cetera, et cetera. And he told me some stories. I'm not going to obviously spoil them because I think he would be best. One he mentioned though, and I'm not going to tell the entire story because it's super funny, but I didn't realize is that he told me that when he was working at Turkish, he was also, of course, working with Jeddah, the airport of last time. By the way, thank you guys for all the very good feedback. Yes. That apparently not only people were leaving, when they were doing the pilgrimage, whichever pilgrimage it was, they were not only taking water, but they were taking rocks. Apparently, there are holy rocks that you keep, and that would create massive issues with the load of the aircraft. He has a great story about that, but I'm not going to spoil it because I think he needs to say it. Snow. I think that's where we'll start. I mean, you went to the snow, but I mean, we had the snow here in the UK. I think you were not here.
I
snowed.
Well, sort of. Yeah, I think we left right as it was starting to make itself known, and then when we came back, boy, was it here.
Oh, okay.
Because
it's a rare event.
But is it though? Is it?
No, but I mean, no.
We act like it is.
I mean, I only have 12 years of. 12 years been here. I mean, and probably also in Europe in general, the weather patterns have changed. It used to be that kids would have snow all the time. I mean, of course, I was born in Switzerland, so I guess it's part of the cliche, but I've heard friends of mine telling me the same thing here, and it's less. However, the UK is very legendary, especially the south of the UK, of not being able to handle that. Yeah. It's like I was joking with you, like probably Heathrow would be closed for 5 months now because they had like 10 centimeters of snow.
Well, I mean, this is a lot of snow in a short period of time. I'll give us that. But
yeah,
every time this happens, it's like it's never happened. And I think it's compounded by kind of industrial action in other, in a lot of different industries that are, which is kind of unprecedented. Not industrial action in this country, but just all of them happening at once, which has made it feel a lot more profound.
Yeah, but and it's always funny to me. To see especially how people drive because basically they've not been trained to drive. So I'm not going to be just saying they don't know how to drive. They've probably not been trained to drive under revving where there's snow makes no sense at all. I saw people like on the street next to me like revving like mad trying to get out. I'm like, this is not going to work, guys. No. I mean, of course, there's no like winter tires in this country, which is very strange, especially in the north. I mean, in the south I would get, but in the north I would say. It wouldn't make sense. Anyway, nobody cares about cars and snow now. But yeah, so did you have an issue actually coming back? There was no Heathrow issue, or were you flying from?
Gatwick. It's the funny thing is coming back. No, is fine. Although the landing was pretty sporting, I feel like maybe we didn't have all of the grip that the pilot was hoping for.
Oh, talking about that. So I evidently went out. It was not. I mean, it was not during the night, guys. It was wonderful. I went out, and the next morning I went out to go to my gym, and I'm like, I'm Swiss. I'm used to this, right? And I have grip. Yeah, well, I fell. I have bruises. And,
oh, no.
Yeah, man. And the biggest bruise is probably my ego, obviously, because I was like, I got this. And I think after, I've left Switzerland like more than 15 years ago, whatever more. And yeah, I lost the ability. So I'm also like the UK. I don't know how to handle snow anymore. Oh my God, my leg still hurts 2 days later, but it's fine. I'm nothing broken. But really, I was like a cartoon, floom.
Oh no!
Like completely flat, and I was like, what just happened here? I thought I was good at this. So you went to snow. We'll start with that. Although we said last time we're going to talk about Florence, but that's going to be in the second part. Because we'll start with that. You went to the Nordics, where they probably know how to handle snow.
They do. Gosh, they have it all figured out, don't they? I mean, you kind of have to in that part of the world, but I was thinking, how are we going to get from here to there? Oh, wait, I'm in a country that's completely versed and equipped to deal with all of this. What am I? Will this be open? Of course it's going to be open. It's not apocalyptic like it is here.
Yeah, it's even, sorry to interrupt, but it's even like there were friends of mine in Germany and Switzerland that were kind of a bit mocking, obviously, what was happening in London, because we're seeing the images because you go to either of these countries, probably the Nordics as well, but especially in these countries, as soon as there's a little bit of snow, all the roads are cleared. There's a whole system that goes into place. And then I have a friend from Canada. No, that's not the one I wanted. No, that's not. Where is it? The one that... No.
You've never been to Canada?
There you go. So I wasn't paying attention to my buttons. I changed them yesterday. Of course, now I don't know. I didn't label them. A friend from Canada was telling me, you remove the snow when there's only 10 centimeters? We just go out and it's fine. Nothing is closed unless it's like 1 meter and it's like, minus 30 Celsius. So, So it's very... depending on where you come from. So the Nordics, obviously.
And it's funny because I know that maybe they had this in the US, certainly in Canada. In fact, I think the northeast of the US, they have this where I don't know if it's the law, but it's certainly protocol that you sweep and de-ice the pavement in front of your house as well.
Yeah. But I thought that the UK had they used to do this. I think in my council, my neighborhood, whatever, there used to be grit available, and people would just take, the stuff and just put it. But yeah, nobody does.
Our sidewalks in where I live were lethal for that. And it is what it is, and it is what it is. Be careful. Exactly. But it just reminded. I was like, isn't there a thing where you're supposed to?
Yeah, in Switzerland we tend to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not something we're used to, and I can understand why people just freeze, literally and figuratively. That was so bad. Sorry. Oh dear.
So you flew, but not only you flew to the Nordics, but how you flew, I want to hear, because that was surprising when you told me which airline you chose to go there. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was funny because I had an obligation in Oslo that was very brief, and frankly, I could have done it from anywhere. But I thought, why don't we? Because my wife had never been to Scandinavia,
nice,
or in the Nordics anywhere, and I just thought, well, let's just look around, see what else we can do, and I started to piece something together, and I looked at flights to Oslo, and all of the normal players were there: BA, Finnair via Helsinki, EasyJet, I think to an extent, obviously SAS, Norwegian, all of those guys. They were quite expensive. The flag carriers, in fact, very expensive to the point where they came very low on the list of on Google Flights. And then Norwegian, of course, were there. But I saw at the very, very top of the list, Norse Atlantic.
Yes. We used both to be spammed by them on our feeds.
Yeah.
Spammed is nuts. But just they were targeting us.
They were really they were trying very hard. And I don't know why, but I almost developed kind of like a brand blindness to them, because And they did nothing wrong. And I don't know what was happening. Perhaps it was overexposure, like you say. But I had been looking at some flights to the U.S. for early next year for some work obligations, and they kept popping up as a way to get to New York.
I think they're clearly trying to be the new Norwegian, right?
Well, that's interesting. They're
not exactly, but they have a lot of ties.
Yeah.
Even like some of the execs are like
100%
ex-Norwegians and stuff. Yeah.
They were born out of it. There's some kind of related controversy there about Norse, but I'd always sort of skipped over it, going, I've been here before. Are they reliable? Are they going to last? And all of that stuff. And this was 2 or 3 months ago. And then when I saw it was incredibly cheap to get from London to Oslo one way.
Wow.
Compared to the other guys. It was like $50. And when I went on their website and had a poke around, to go in their premium cabin, which I'll talk about, was only like another $25. And I was like, well, for science,
Yeah.
we should go. So I booked it and thought, okay, well, I have no expectations. I don't know what the situation at Gatwick will be like. Do they even have an app? And this was, I booked it 4 days before we were due to fly.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, it doesn't really matter if the whole bottom falls out of this, because there's a bunch of different, the Norwegian go to Oslo 5 times a day. It's not the end of the world. So we drove to Gatwick. They operate out of the South Terminal.
Okay.
And obviously, the last time I was at Gatwick was the whaling odyssey. So I still have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth from that airport and that terminal. But you can't check in online, or you can do all of the data entry, but you can't get a boarding pass yet.
Okay.
And I had read 1 Mile at a Time and a few other people who had been on the inaugurals and the others saying they weren't able to do it. But the website, no errors, very easy to use, give all the passport information and everything like that. And they said, you need to go to the airport to collect your boarding pass. Okay, that's fine. They had a dedicated desk for premium passengers. Mm-hmm. They were operating a flight to New York, I think at around the same time as our flight to Oslo. That was the vast majority of people. But there was like 2 parties of 3 ahead of us.
So as in a direct to New York.
They have a direct. So their model is Norwegian. Long
exactly,
haul.
Right. That's
low cost, long haul.
Yeah. Exactly.
And as you said, they are born from the ashes of Norwegian long haul. Their CEO was the former chairman of Norwegian. There's a lot.
There's like, I think 3 or 4 execs in total that have minority stakes in the company.
Yeah, their operating certificate was and funding structure and slots.
I even think, but I'm not sure that I could be wrong, because I even think that the plans they were to take on Dreamliners to go to these transatlantic routes, and the lessor is obviously the same as Norwegian, and actually the planes that they were taking were the ones that used to be for Norwegian, because Norwegian doesn't do those anymore.
Yeah.
So probably I didn't check on air fleets and all that.
No, that's 100% true. The plane we flew on was ex Norwegian.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Okay.
And you could tell as soon as you got on. But it's interesting because they kind of sprung up out of nowhere. I started flying only in June. And this London-Oslo route is temporary to maintain some slots. It's not something they're going to maintain long haul.
Oh.
They truly believe that Oslo is a great position for not only North Atlantic routes, but also to Northern Asia, which Finnair have already validated that model. Hopefully, when things calm down and Russian overflight becomes normal once again, they will be able to realize that. But in the meantime, they're maintaining these slots, which is great because you get a chance to do what I did. And the one thing that struck me immediately was how friendly everybody was. The check-in agents were overwhelmingly friendly and kind and patient. And I was just really the person who kind of ushered you in. They were overstaffed. So they had people.
What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was unnecessary, but very welcome. So they had people standing at the entrance to the check-in area. And these were clearly managers, because they had their walkie-talkies and they looked, well, there's one person in uniform, one person not in uniform, making sure you're going the right place. The check-in agent really friendly to the people in front of us who had an issue with the amount of bags or a buggy or something. But I was impressed. I'm sure it'll wear off. It always does when you try and scale these operations. But the check-in process for us, as we were hand luggage only and just getting our boarding passes, was it took 30 seconds. Very, very, very friendly, very prompt. You get, although they don't specifically advertise it either on the boarding pass or part of the process, premium security at Gatwick, which when you go upstairs in the South Terminal is just to the left there, and that was all fine. Gatwick was busy for a Thursday kind of lunchtime.
Good.
Yeah,
I mean, the numbers show that we're still not 2019, but it's picking up.
Yeah, there was a comforting hustle and bustle, but that we have said early on in this podcast that from a security and operations perspective, Gatwick is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I love it.
They do good work.
I love it. I understand that it's not as premium as Heathrow in the way that we think about it. And it's true that some of the amenities are not, but I like the fact that it's just, automated, fast.
Yeah,
Just
like,
works.
and people, you go into the security area with a boarding pass, but there was somebody waiting there saying, if you got a problem, come over here. And into security, people directing you to these queues at the belt.
Yeah.
Somebody at the thing sort of corralling all of the trays so that
Very
you're
efficient.
not just, I was impressed. You get through there. And, I bitched a lot about Gatwick South Terminal last time, which was
Welling, it was
pre-summer, was it?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was spring. Was it not? Something like that.
Tempest Fugit. They've clearly realized they're not getting a new terminal. They're not getting a terminal expansion anymore, but they are going to have to be up to 80-85% capacity, maybe even more because they're so much more leisure-based than Heathrow is. So there are big areas that are blocked off completely where there used to be, like, where the McDonald's used to be.
Yeah, I saw that actually last time as well. Yeah.
They're extending that back, and they're building more restaurants and shops and all of that to accommodate that change in strategy, that temporary, hopefully, change in strategy. But things were open. There weren't nearly as many queues. We tried our luck at the number one lounge through my priority pass, and the fella there said, unless you got a booking, we can't. He was very apologetic, very kind. I expected it, having been on this particular rodeo 3 or 4
meaning
times.
Norse doesn't offer
Norse does not offer lounge access. And
you don't even have you overheard if they were to do that for the US, because maybe they said cold.
That's a great question. I don't believe so, because I looked at the premium page on their website about what was included and what was not included. My guess is that it will become something that they offer because you kind of have to. Yeah. But the guy said, and again, very friendly, really sorry, if you try over the way, the My Lounge is accepting walk-ins. And I was like, what the hell is the My Lounge?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've never been in.
Me too. I'd seen it and thought, it's never been open. It's some kind of social experiment. What the hell is... So I go over there, and sure enough, they're accepting walk-ins.
Oh.
They have clearly only just reopened because there was a lot of sort of procedural slowness. They were trying to figure out systems, and every time somebody threw them a curveball on a coupon or a voucher or a guest, it took a manager to come over and patiently walk the person through. When this happens, you need to press X, Y, and Z. No one was kicking up a fuss. It happens.
Yeah.
And the lounge was it was small. It's across the concourse from the number one lounge.
Yeah.
Small, very nice. Beautifully lit and lovely, comfortable furniture. Pretty busy because it was small. I didn't have any of the food, but the food looked way better than most lounges that I've been in lately. All well tended, well served, well kind of presented. They had, most importantly, and most revolutionarily in a lounge, a nacho cheese dispenser. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is a game-changing amenity in a lounge. I mean,
That's awesome.
If I go to a lounge and they don't have one, it's getting negative points from me because
That's so cool.
this big freaking thing like a soda vending machine that you unmanned, so I could have put nacho cheese on whatever I wanted.
Nacho cheese on my Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I could have. So people were not taking advantage of this, which I thought was borderline criminal. But it was. I mean, in all seriousness, it was a tidy little lounge, made outstanding not just by its nacho cheese dispenser, but by the fact that it had an outdoor area.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, a small outdoor area that overlooked the parking area where the heavies are.
That's so very cool.
Yeah, and it was
that
minus-
will entice me to try it.
It was absolutely worth it for me, and it was -4, but I did sit out there for a while because I hate myself.
No matter. I don't know how the weather was that day, but it was for a few days in a row. I mean, still -5 this morning Celsius, guys, but it's I love when it's crisp, cold,
exactly what it
and blue skies.
It was
I love that.
crystal clear, crisp, beautiful morning. And so Megan thought I was insane, but I went and sat out there for 15, 20 minutes. Interestingly.
She's from California, of course.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that because, she's Californian when it's convenient, but went to university in Colorado when it's also convenient.
Oh, there you go. Oh, see, she should know better.
Yeah. So, she does know better, which is why she didn't go outside. But interestingly, so you have this sort of rectangular, long, shallow space with chairs and tables. Mm-hmm. But in this maybe a quarter of that towards the back was the smoking area.
There's a smoking area?
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow. As in, I know there's, so guys, for context, in the UK, you're not allowed to smoke indoors.
Anyway.
Full point. I mean, there's nothing. There was for a while, there is still a smoking section on T4, Terminal 4 at Heathrow. You go downstairs, probably near, I forgot. You cannot see it on the map, but basically if you go downstairs twice and you arrive outdoors, there's no view. You have a view on a road, and that's a smoking area. And I've heard, but I've never been. I've heard, because as you know, guys, I used to be a smoker, and now it's more occasional. There was apparently for a while, there was a smoking lounge at T3 for Japanese. I've heard that story so many times. I don't know if it's apocryphal, but basically in Gatwick, I didn't know there was, wow.
Yeah, and you can only get there and I only discovered it because I was sitting out there futzing with my phone, and these guys came out and they were like pulling out cigarettes, and I'm like, all I could think about was the Virgin Atlantic Clubhouse in T3 has this outdoor area, which was my oasis. I relied on that place.
But you cannot smoke.
You cannot smoke. In fact, somebody smoked up there, caught the AstroTurf on fire.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And it was closed for 2 years.
Bastard.
And I was pissed. I was really, really angry about that because I loved that. Well, it wasn't.
That's weird that they would allow.
Yeah.
To have a
So
smoking
they came
area.
outside and they started like, and I'm like, guys, you can't. What are you doing? There's a big freaking. And I wasn't a dick about it. I was kind of making a joke with them. Like, there's a big no smoking sign, and they're like, oh my god. And then they said, but they just told us there was a smoking area. So we get up and we're all three of us looking around. I'm like, look, it's back here, and there's like this little hidden area, and I was like, this is
wow.
great. And so we spent the rest of the time chatting, and they were actually, funnily enough, on the same flight. And they were asking, because I'd been to Oslo 3 or 4 times, what we should do there. But again, I was impressed by I think I got in on my Amex actually, and not on Priority Pass. But I'll have to double check that. Either way, I was impressed. If it's not too crowded, I would definitely.
No, I'll try for the views and for being able to be outside and seeing the heavies.
Totally worth
having an outdoor area when you can actually see planes, because some of these outdoor areas, you just see nothing. It's just a bit sad.
Yeah, it is a bit sad. And there are so many lounges. I would say the majority of lounges these days are boxes with
boxes.
With
exactly.
no
Especially
windows.
Gatwick. We said last time they are on top of each other. You have Emirates, there's Virgin, there's number one, there's BA, is it at the same time? And I forgot.
Yeah.
None of them have a view.
No, it's
He does.
so to have a view is a little bit of a treasure.
Yeah, and simply have daylight as well. So,
Oh,
you know?
and then you had fresh air. So I was impressed. I would go back. I didn't mind.
good.
So I did something that I have never ever done in my life, and I realized it somewhere on the M25. Out of silence, I just said, I forgot my cables. I left my entire
Your pouch?
charging brick with all my phone charger, my laptop charger, my watch, and my headphones. It's got 4. I never, ever leave the house without that.
That's post-pandemic, man. We tend to do these mistakes.
Yeah, I could not chalk it up to anything. And I was so angry at myself because I never do that. So I had to leave the airport or the lounge early and go spend a criminal amount of money
At Dixon's, right? Is it Dixon's?
Dixon's or In Motion or whatever the hell it was, buying.
Yeah, I had to do that one time ago. My God.
I will
bought
not
the power
make that.
bank.
Yeah.
The power bank was like the most expensive power bank I ever bought. It was more than a Swiss watch or something.
It was.
Yeah, I bought it nonetheless because I needed one.
And they do it to prey on dumbasses like me. But I won't do that again. So I didn't have that much time in the lounge, but it was all that was needed. And you have that long pier of gates for the heavies, and there was a BA flight going to San Jose, Costa Rica.
Oh wow!
Then the JFK flight that I was mentioning, the other
But where
one.
you didn't tell us what aircraft were you on to?
Well, yeah. So you walk up, and there's this beautiful, gleaming Dreamliner, 787.
You have a Dreamliner for Oslo.
Yeah. So they only have.
because when
Dreamliners.
earlier you said I wasn't a. I thought maybe you mentioned the 738 because Norwegian also had those. Oh wow, a Dreamliner.
Yeah, so
cool.
they have these beautiful Dreamliners that they use to go to Fort Lauderdale and maybe Tampa as well. And these are direct to Oslo.
nice.
And then you have this New York, London leg as well, and these beautiful off-white shimmering airplanes with light blue nacelles on the engine, and then this it almost looks like a sort of Oman Air empennage and tail, except without the gold or yellow, whatever they want to call it. And then this tail. It's
What I've heard is that the tail is what was it? I heard that, I think, was it on an article? The tail is a reminiscence of that old Viking ship
yes,
that they preserved somewhere in Norway. I think I went to visit it when I went to Norway like a long time ago. And actually it's the empennage or whatever. I think something, I don't know.
it's beautiful. I mean, the airplanes are very attractive, and again, like you know how at Gatwick, for those of you that don't know, Gatwick has a reasonably unusual process of you go up to the gate and they check you in at the gate, but you go into this big pen area that you can't leave before boarding, so you don't do the boarding pass
wait,
check.
holding area
Yeah,
in a way.
but right as you board, like you would sort of traditionally, for want of a better word, which is fine. You get a beautiful view of the airplane. It became very clear that this was not going to be a full flight at all. There may be 100 people in the waiting area for a Dreamliner, but I walked up to the lady at the gate, and she was just beaming. She was just bouncing in such a happy mood, and she just kept. And I thought, is it me because I was in a good mood and we were just feeding? No, every single person in front of me, and I was watching her like this was just somebody who was in a good, happy mood, and I thought, wow, it really does make such a difference.
Yeah, because it's. I was about to use a word that has been overused during the pandemic, but it's epidemic. I mean, if everybody,
sure.
there's a mood. If people are smiling, you kind of tend to smile back. I mean, there's a thing.
It was
right?
contagious, and everybody around her was the same. And there were people whose boarding passes didn't match their blah blah blah. It didn't matter. There was enough people again. Well, I say overstaffed. Maybe I mean correctly staffed and not understaffed.
Yeah, because we've been used to having cuts everywhere.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it was a very thing, and then eventually they just said, board at your leisure, because there weren't that many people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
And it's you step on board, and again, friendly people. Very interesting mix of of ethnicities among the cabin crew. They've obviously recruited from across the globe. Lots of different languages. They have the same thing a lot of the Southeast Asian languages do. And actually the ME3, where on their name tag it says it has the flags of the languages that they speak, and there was a lot of Japanese, obviously the Scandinavian languages, English, French, German, Chinese. It was very impressive.
I mean, there's two things there. One, we know that people in the Nordics tend to learn more languages than ever, but also simply they're preparing probably for a larger network.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And also I think they're bringing in established cabin crew culture as well.
That's good.
Which I think is very important as opposed to building it from the ground up. But you step on board and it's obviously an ex-Norwegian plane. They've got those gray seats.
Oh.
The cabin, the premium cabin had the sort of premium economy recliner seats, the leather recliner seats with a fixed armrest.
Yeah, that's the one I flew on. It's probably
I should have posted some pictures.
No, that's fine. But I'm
looking around.
Pretty sure that I understand which one.
And it's beautiful. They had like these framed prints of the fjords and all of that stuff just to stay on brand. By the time we actually were all on board, I think there may have been 10 of us in the cabin, which was big. It was a big cabin.
Nice.
They had pull-out IFE, fairly basic moving map, all of that type of thing. And what? So we were looking around, and our departure time comes and goes, and the cabin crew. There was 3 captains on the flight deck. They introduced themselves, and all 3 of them were captains. So either it was familiarization or whatever. They didn't explain, but they said, "We're just waiting. The plane has arrived from New York. It's been on the ground for a while. Therefore, in the interests of flight safety, we need to de-ice. But apparently we're next in the queue, so we shouldn't be that much longer."
Something that is a science in the Nordics, it seems more like
Well, it was after about 20 minutes, the captain comes back on, and he's sort of, you can hear the incredulity in his voice and he said, "Well, we're still waiting because apparently there is only one person at Gatwick who knows how to use the de-icing rig, and nobody can find him." And I laughed.
The alchemist.
Yeah.
Where's the alchemist?
He's like, nobody can find.
You need to mix the product to de-ice it. We don't know.
Nobody's seen him since 1976, and and you could see other airplanes, and you could see a de-icing rig appear and then disappear as they were. Eventually, they come and they de-ice the airplane, which still to me is fun to watch. It's really,
I love it.
It's really cool to see. It's kind of like this cherry picker scissor lift kind of. I don't think it's a scissor lift. I don't know what they're called, but it's got a kind of Star Wars-esque cannon on the front of it, and they're spraying the airplane down. And I was like, I bet that's damn good fun.
I would totally do it.
I would too.
I would totally do a training for a day and actually de-ice the aircraft.
Oh man, I think it must be a lot of fun. I'm sure it's cold, hard, frustrating
for sure.
work. And
of course, and not make light of the work, essential as well. But it must be, if it's not your job, you do it one day, like.
Yeah, open fire. Yeah, it was neat. So eventually they got all that squared away. But meanwhile, while we were waiting, being the curious cat that I am, I started like, I wonder if they've got an in-flight magazine. I wonder if there's a menu in here. And
I know where you're going with this because you told me.
I pull out
it's amazing.
The safety car. I'm looking at it, like, oh, that's neat. And they've got a menu. Did they have a menu? Yeah, they did have the menu in there. And then I was like, what is this? This is kind of cheap. The whole like in-flight magazine or something or whatever this is like just photocopied paper stapled together in the top left-hand corner. This is ridiculous. I pull it out, and it's not. It is the Norse Atlantic Operational Information Guide.
That's amazing.
And I'm looking at this going, feel like maybe I'm not supposed to have this. And I open it up, and
No, they knew that Alex Hunter, the AvGeek,
they planted it for
sit
me
on
to
that seat.
I'm looking, and it's got like departure, like really, really intensely detailed operational information. I mean, no confidential stuff. I didn't really like study it. I was like, this looks like something that shouldn't be here.
Yeah, clearly. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think maybe it was like some crew that
100%.
sat there and forgot? Yeah, right.
100%. And I don't think there's certainly nothing in there that would have compromised safety or security or anything like that. But we were still on the ground. We were obviously going to be there for a while because the de-icing rig had not reached us yet. So we were in row 5. The cockpit door was open. So I just walked up and knocked on Sora and I said, I feel like maybe I shouldn't have this in my seat pocket. And they looked at it like, okay, thank you very much, and took it. But anyway, that is what it is. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, the flight, once we did get underway, I think they gave us a little bit of a shortcut because there was a BA 777 blocking one of the taxiways, which there was nothing wrong with it. They were just doing their checklists, and we had already done ours when we pushed back, it would seem. So we went around it, took off, and the service was brisk, I would say. It wasn't overly fun. And they came through with a trolley, and I looked at the menu and thought, pretty certain here that I'm going to have to pay for all this. It's fine. I'm starving.
Yeah.
They have their own beer. They have their own co-branded beer.
No way.
I was like, I got to get that.
Norwegian beer?
It was a Norwegian beer from a Norwegian brewery with the Norse Atlantic logo on it.
Nice.
I got to get that. And I'll get a snack. And I said, how much do I owe? And they're like, oh, no, it's free for passengers and premium. And I was thinking, A, amazing. B, didn't do a great job of explaining that either in the menu or over the PA.
They should. Yeah.
But I think they eventually figured it out. And, before you...
Or maybe they want to keep the ambiguity. So
well, they may also be, testing people's reactions as well.
Yeah.
I think just going, people will they kvetch about it, or will they just be like, oh, okay, well, it was $50 to go on this flight, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, the IFE is a nice big, I think it's Panasonic system that pops out of the armrest. Yeah. Reasonably limited content, but they had not a moving map, but they had flight information. Yeah. Which is kind of really all I need. The airplane had a Wi-Fi antenna on top, but it was not in any way turned on. Okay. Which is fine. Maybe they do it on the long haul. I don't know.
I don't remember. I was trying this is why I was lingering here. I'm trying to remember whether or not Norwegian had any Wi-Fi. I'm not sure. And also whether or not they had any moving map. I'm not sure. But I mean, I've flown, it's been forever, man. It's been, I think 2016 last time I've flown long haul from, I think it was New York to London with Norwegian. So I can't recall.
I did it.
It's somewhere in an episode, guy.
Yeah.
If you want to look it up.
I can't remember either. No. But I was a fan of theirs, and I was happy to see this model coming back.
Oh, by the way, just a small parenthesis here. I don't know if you've read, the EU will be allowing 5G in aircrafts next year, which means you'll be able to keep your phone on and make even phone calls, although that one will be, of course, the airline will be the ones deciding if they will want to allow phone calls or not. But 5G, I mean, I don't know if 5G is able to keep up with the speed of the aircraft, but...
Yeah, because I guess even
with a Wi-Fi, maybe.
That's how the initial Virgin America Wi-Fi implementation worked. It was ground-based.
Yeah. Now it's a mix. I mean, let's not go there, but I think I've heard, depending on the routes, there's a mix of satellites, sometimes ground, whatever. But anyway, it's interesting that the EU would just allow that. That would mean that on... maybe Norse. I mean, the UK is not part of the EU, so I don't know what's going to be there, but maybe Norse will allow 5G. I don't know how it will work, again, if it actually connects to anything when you're going that far.
Yeah, I don't know how that works either, but it'll be...
We'll see.
Yeah, it's a good development, I think, as long as you can't use it for phone calls. So, but
at least it means you don't have to shut your phone anymore.
Yeah.
That is gone.
Yeah, now that they've kind of figured that whole thing out, because it was sending 777s the wrong way for a while, wasn't it, when they landed? Anyway, well, yeah, so, I mean, the rest of the flight was pretty uneventful, very easy, very, very comfortable. Landed at Oslo on time. Well, actually not on time. We're about half an hour late in the end.
So, guys, we did Oslo. I mean, you'll tell us what you thought, but we did Oslo because I looked it up. In 2016, episode 32, that's when either Alex or I described Oslo. Might have been both of us. So how was it this time?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful place, country, region to land in twilight when the snow's on the ground and the
Yes.
And actually, it's funny when you land, when you're just like many other airlines, when you're landing in the hours of darkness, they turned on all of the cabin lights, but then on Norse they turn on the disco lights. And there was this phenomenal rainbow like movement going all the way up and down the entire length of the cabin.
No way.
You know, from entire length of the airplane. Kind of.
No
this
way.
On Finnair on the 350s they have this Northern Lights.
Yes, Northern Lights type of
which is
correct.
really slow moving. Looks like the Northern Lights. You know, throughout the flight. This was not that. This was like. It was super cool. I got a little bit of it on film, but not. It was a very neat effect for the last 10 minutes of the flight.
That's what allowed the Dreamliner and also 350s allowed you could play with that.
It was
not that many airlines do though, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, it brings such a character to the I mean it's kind of inconsequential, right? It's the last 10 minutes of the flight. Go nuts, you know. It's not going to ruin the flight for me one way or another, or make it better. But it was a nice, fun little Easter egg almost. And you glide into Oslo Airport, and I think next to us was another Norse plane and a Qatar plane, and the whole ramp was covered in maybe like an inch of snow, and so you just felt, even though we weren't outside, that the whole place was just quiet and calm.
Yeah, that's what I love about snow, man.
Me too. It's just,
I mean, when it
dampening.
snowed, but we started at the top of the show in London, that's exactly for a little while, because of course nothing stays here. The city was super quiet because even the cars, there's less probably, but also simply the fact that the tires go on the snow.
It's
so
a
quiet.
lovely noise, and I just it was a very peaceful arrival into the city. The airport, the terminal that we were in, was clearly the sort of international terminal, and it was
that's probably the one I've went to
it's
as well.
very new, beautiful. It was quiet. I think we must have been the last flight coming in for a while. And no queue at immigration. You're very, very quickly.
That airport is
Wonderful.
very cool. If I do remember, since you mentioned earlier, if I do remember correctly, that airport has a smoking and it's outdoors and it's minus 20.
Yeah,
if you get the smokers.
Yeah.
No, it's a very, very nice airport.
It's a beautiful airport.
I love
You're
it.
through. The train station is right there in the terminal. You jump on the airport train, the fly to get, and you're there in 20 minutes, and it's just super easy. But I was impressed with North Atlantic. I wish them the best. Anybody who's putting price pressure on the cartel across the Atlantic is okay by me.
We always said that. We need competition. It was nice to have Norwegian. That didn't work, so it's nice to have others. And I think there's others as well. I think Iceland is also creating another. There was another one. There's
Wow, Play.
Wow, yeah. I don't know where. I don't know where that went, because
I think Wow's gone.
Yeah.
Play is
I think
back.
So. But there's another one, also with a name like super hip, whatever, short. I think.
Oh God, I can't
anyway,
remember anymore.
yeah, it's just yeah.
The sun has
But
come
I'm
out,
happy. Yeah,
and
it's
my
good.
camera is freaking out because I had all my camera settings for like darkness, like your room, and the sun is coming through my window now. My camera's like, what's happening?
Alex is under a nuclear explosion right now. Like, actually, if you've seen Terminator, just before everything just wipes out LA, that's exactly how Alex looks.
Yeah,
right now.
and
It's
even if I
super
turn off my big light, it doesn't really make that much of a difference because the sunlight is
worry.
like pouring in, and I'm not going to get up.
We
to all
haven't
kinds of
started, guys, and we don't know if we'll ever start to not stream, but to actually record the video and put it on YouTube. So it doesn't really matter. I take the software we're using takes random screenshots, which I use. You've seen them on social, and sometimes they're really boring screenshots. I hope this time they will be better.
Yeah, you'll probably see me with my face melting.
Yeah, it's gonna be very I'm gonna maybe go on Photoshop and try to reduce the exposure.
It's all set up for exactly the same kind of environment that you're in. But you know what? I'd rather.
Yeah, I've put down the blinds, especially because It's Thursday morning, and you probably guys have heard it because we mentioned that in another episode. The garbage men were here.
Oh,
and they make a lot of noise.
Same. That's fine. They do it on the same day as me. But yeah, so I was impressed by them. I wish them the best. It was a heck of a deal. It seemed like, why wouldn't we? I knew it.
And I love as well the fact that what you said, and that was the case for Norwegian and a few other. I love the fact that you can get just a one way, and you don't have to deal with going like both ways. Guys, other airlines, I get it. Stop with that nonsense, right? I love to have these open jaw. Anyway, I will try them. Definitely.
I would recommend it. I think I'm going to the East Coast of the U.S. next month. They are now going to be another option available to me.
That's next year as well.
Next month. Ugh, here we are. But yeah, I was impressed, and we did 2 other legs on the flight, which I'll just briefly mention. We did Oslo to Stockholm on SAS.
Ouch! Sorry.
Which was
because when I flew to Oslo the last time, I think I flew to Oslo to then go to New York, and I flew. Was it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I flew with SAS, and that was bad. I mean, not bad, but kind of civil servant mentality, exactly the opposite of what you just mentioned about Norse people being super happy and joyful and helpful. Nobody cared, and even though I was in business class, nobody cared. And I was like, why do I pay that amount of money? And it seemed they were going on strike in the middle of the flight. I mean, really, I was not a fan. I'm sorry if anyone works at SAS, but it was not great.
I felt the same. It was all. I mean, the plane was brand new. It was a 320 Neo, brand beautiful looking airplane, and but the service was pretty kind of basic. Everything,
but that was a very short flight,
it's like
right?
50 minutes at most. And we went to the. I can't remember the name of the lounge, but it's not the SAS one. So you go upstairs at Oslo Airport, which again, like that whole, it's so well apportioned, well appointed.
I agree.
Great restaurants, because it's it's a surprisingly busy and big airport. But it's great restaurants, great shops, great kind of coffee and bakery, not the normal garbage that we're all used to at airports. But the lounge is also really, really good. I'd been there 3 or 4 times. I got in there using, I think, my Amex, and beautiful views over a quiet part of the airport. Phenomenal food, all kind of salad bar-y, but really, really fresh. And but it was self-boarding, so you just tap your thing and it lets you through.
Yeah, it's very Nordic.
It's efficiency. I like it, and I think
I like it as well.
It
just works. There's no mess.
Yeah, there's no mess. It's very easy, and we got on board.
People are very behaved as well, probably to help.
People were very behaved. Yeah, we were lucky that we had the seat. It wasn't a very busy flight, so we had the seat between us empty. We were in economy. It's basically the same as all of the other European carriers, and there's no real premium cabin, which is fine. seems so. But yeah, into Stockholm Airport, and the same kind of that airport is a little less. Modern, or at least the terminal that we went in and out.
I agree. Out of the 4,
Arlanda.
If I include Helsinki, I think Copenhagen, Oslo, and Helsinki are above, and ARN, Stockholm, has some way to go.
Yeah,
in terms of design and
it feels old
layout.
And when we came back through to come back to London, I noticed it has the classic feature that dates a airport terminal, which is how low the ceiling is and whether it's made of those movable tiles. And it had both of those, this terminal in. So it was very, very busy airport. It was a crappy lounge. This is Stockholm.
But also because the airport, the layout makes it that the people are not evenly distributed. You stay into that very long corridor, depending on which terminal, and you have to. So
they are completely.
It was made for another era.
100%, and there's large sections of these corridors that are blocked off for renovation, and big signs showing how the
future.
The future, but also this is basically a redesign from the ground up.
Good for them. Good for them.
So yeah, no, it's
By the way, guys, we did episode, because I looked it up as well, 99. That was in 2019, actually. That's just
not that
pre-pandemic.
long.
We talked about a little bit of Arlanda. I think it's because I think I stayed overnight. I went to the hotel there or something, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's a bit passé, but I'm happy to hear that they're actually doing some work.
yeah, it's definitely needed. And we flew home on Norwegian, which was
Actually,
Norwegian.
Okay.
Yeah, 737-8.
8.
But fine. Very, very, very full.
That's all that remains about Norwegian.
Yeah.
I think they just do that now, right?
They seem to have ditched the tail illustrations. They used to have those.
The faces of famous people or whatever.
Norwegians. That seems to be disappearing, but it was a very rudimentary service, and not in a bad way. It was kind of what you expected.
Was it cheap?
Yeah.
The flight?
Yep.
Did you pay also similar price in Norse or?
A little bit more, and then you've got to pay for various bits and pieces because it's just a low-cost carrier. There's nothing bad about it. It was all pay for whatever you want in terms of food. EasyJet, like everybody else. But it was the first time I'd ever flown on them, I think.
No, wow.
Norwegian short haul.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, actually, no. I say, oh wow, but you're right. I've only done Dreamliners. I've never done the 737-8, which what they always used for short haul in the past as well.
And
So
that
like basically a typical
low cost, completely full flight. But we all left on time, and a very easy flight back to Gatwick. Like I said, the landing. The braking action perhaps wasn't what they expected it to be, but yeah, it was fine. Gatwick.
We expected you had grit on the runway, but you guys in the UK don't put it. So
I don't, or maybe it was over gridded, and we kind of Tokyo drifted into our high speed taxiway. I don't know. It was kind of Megan and I looked at each other like that felt abrupt, but Gatwick, having come from a couple of functional Nordic airports, felt lifts weren't working and escalators weren't working, but there was nobody in immigration. We were through in a heartbeat, and then you're out into cold and wet, wintry London again.
Yeah, that's I think that's a good description. I think Gatwick works well, but I think airports in the UK have nothing to write home about in terms of how nice they look, or how wonderful the experience is. They're efficient, especially Gatwick. Heathrow depends on the terminal. Manchester, no terminal at all. Sorry, but yeah. Whereas it's true that these airports in the Nordics have personality.
They do have personality, and
you can remember. I can. There's so many airports that we discussed over the years of existence of that show now that I cannot recall unless I actually look it up. But Copenhagen, I can remember. Arlanda, even though we just said, I don't know, maybe because I slept there. But Oslo, I can remember. Helsinki, I can remember. There's a few airports. Obviously, there's others in Asia, etc. But I don't think Heathrow you really remember.
I think we remember it because we've been there 700 times. But you're right. It's funny because I was trying, when we were coming into land in Oslo, I was trying to picture the airport, the inside of it. And I was like, I can't. And then as soon as we got there inside, I was like, oh yeah. And then there's that thing there and that thing there. And then on the way back, I was like, oh, and just around the corner, there's a great fish restaurant. I remembered how good it was. I think it was just anything pre-pandemic is this sort of, sepia-toned blur. That like a happy memory in most cases. And you can, once you come back, you're like, oh, you remember all these little details. But yeah, it was a good experience. It was fun to fly a bunch of different airlines.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly. I really want to fly north.
Yeah, I was impressed. I hope they continue. I hope they bring this attitude with them as they scale as well, at least on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Talking about snow, there's since you just triggered the memory, I think what's his name? Air Greenland has received their new 330 Neo 800.
I saw that. Flight Radar did a good
They
job.
had already a 330-200. So but that one was only used for charter. So because let's be clear, the capital Nuuk as Nuuk N-U-U-K. So I say Nuuk, but I'm not sure if it's the right pronunciation. Sorry, guys. Has like 50,000 people, so it's like tiny. The airport on the capital is too small. So the runway is too small to carry the 330. So it's in an airport which is north, which used to be a U.S. airbase, and that's like an hour away. So, but I think the reason I'm pointing this out is because you mentioned Norse wanting to be a little bit more like Norwegian and trying to have like a scale. Of course, it was never going to be that scale, but Greenland is investing, it's trying to invest in tourism because it's very popular to have now these kind of tourism in the snow and the Arctic, etc. And they are trying to have, so they want to expand the runway at Nuuk, which has a lot of opposition, of course, because apparently of the ecosystem there and the fact that it's very close to a city. So, it's not only Heathrow that has an issue with expanding runways. And they want to have a flight that goes from New York with that 330 to Nuuk, and then they'll use smaller ones to Iceland and probably Europe, continental Europe or the UK. So, yeah, I don't know if it's probably never going to be such a big operation because it's a tiny country again. But it's fun to see, and I love the livery of that
bright red.
Yeah, exactly. They really make. So let's see. I think the plan to expand that runway at the capital would be 2024 or 25. If that happens, they will try. Maybe they'll buy another 330. But apparently, it was a huge celebration just to have that new Neo coming in because they don't have a lot of aircraft. They have a lot of smaller like ATRs. And stuff that go like in the middle of the snow, whatever.
It must be some pretty spectacular flying. I mean, you fly over Greenland when you do North Atlantic routes, and you look down and you think, what a place. What a place.
The other airport in the snow, actually, the other airport that has always been very kind of busy in this period now, but apparently has never seen as many passengers as now, is Rovaniemi, which is the airport in the north of Finland, where supposedly...
Where Santa lives.
I'm Finn, so I'm going to say, of course he's there. Santa Claus lives. And they've created like that village. It's a touristic attraction, but you also have everything else, which is simply nature-based. So you can go and do, hiking and etc., sports, winter activities. And I think I've read the other day that they've never had as many tourists and as many basic passengers to that airport as even pre-pandemic.
The town itself is tiny, isn't it? The population
it's tiny. It's really, you go there because Santa Claus, in a way, right? And I think Air France, did they just started going there, or they go there? There's another airport which is just above, so that's actually in what's considered the Arctic. And there you would go only for winter activities. So again, everything that get lost in the snow and visit forests, I guess. No, I'm sorry. But that airport is also tiny, but it's proving very popular. Again, I think Air France has a direct there, so it means that there's a development. There's a clear want from visitors to go to places like this. And so it's really cool. Football, boo USA, boo England, boo. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about Switzerland, man, because that was embarrassing.
I don't know if it was embarrassing, but it was a heartbreaker.
Yeah, but after the game after Serbia, suddenly there was not the same team anymore. So yeah, we're left with because recording Thursday, so we just had the semi. We're left with the one we kind of thought it would be: France versus Argentina.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of wanted this because France is clearly the best team in terms of quality, and Argentina wasn't at the start, but like a diesel. Yeah. Now it's just a machine. So it will be I think it will be a great game. I know, guys, you're not subscribed to this to listen to.
It's going to be either way.
Who are you going to do we support one of them?
Well, I think France. I think I'll be quietly leaning towards.
Yeah,
France.
I think so too.
Just our continental brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it's fun because like I remember watching in '86 when Argentina versus Germany. That was in Mexico City, the final. With my dad. No, I was not there. I was watching that on TV, guys. Let's be clear. That stadium, I think, was 120,000 people. Yeah. I remember, was so much noise, and and I remember clearly because it was I think Germany went back 2-2 just like at 10 minutes before the end, and then Burruchaga put the goal and assist of Maradona, and they won. And then they met again 4 years later in 1990. And my father was a huge Argentinian fan. That's why I mentioned this. And it was again Germany versus, and this time was not West Germany, it was actual Germany versus Argentina. This time they lost also, like I think there was a penalty in the 85th or 86th, or I can't remember, at the end of the game. And I remember, this is what the point of the story, I remember being so upset because I was also for Argentina that I was in Greece, I threw the TV remote, anger, and my father looked at me and gave me the biggest slap on my face. I remember, like, you never do that again. I'm like, okay, I thought you were not for Germany, but it was the fact that I destroyed the TV remote. So for a long time, I would have supported Argentina, but I fell in love with France in '98 when they started becoming the team there today. So I think I will support France.
It's gonna be a great game, no matter what. I think new generation and the old guard on the same pitch for both teams.
Yeah, and look, Mbappe, amazing. Messi, amazing. Griezmann is freaking
yeah, even Giroud's doing some. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, I love Giroud, man. I always loved him. He was always controversial for some reason. If you look at our stats and our charts, because that's what we did last time for fun, Argentina is on average. I looked at the past 30 days performance. We are number 3 there. And France, we're only number 25.
What?
So that would imply that. But you know what? I think we need to do this podcast in French if we ever wanted to have a higher ranking.
I think you're right.
Sorry for Croatia, but there's one thing they can be happy about, I guess, for travel is January 1st, they're part of Schengen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, that will make their lives easier, and anybody going to Croatia.
Yeah, not for us.
Nope.
It doesn't change anything. But at least if you're already in Europe, whoever wants in the Schengen area, you don't have to clear passport control anymore to go to Croatia, to Zagreb, etc. So
wow, that's great.
That's cool.
That's going to be huge for them, especially in tourism.
Yes. We'll do a few more minutes of news and feedback, and then we'll go to your
this is just
Florence,
me talking.
I want to. Since we just talked about France, actually, there's something we talked just at the outset when we restarted recording after the pandemic. They're actually going through with banning domestic flights in France. It was not just something they said, to kind of reset travel, etc. Because the European Commission has approved their plan to do so. So if a journey can be done by a train that takes less, up to 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, I think there's no plane option available. It has to be with the train. That covers, because I looked at it, that covers only for the moment, I think it's Paris to Lyon and Rennes, and I think Lyon and Marseille. That's pretty much it. So there's not as if there's no more domestic flights. But as France is improving, keeps improving their train system, at some point there will be even less probably.
That's interesting.
I don't know. The reason I mentioned it, besides of the interesting fact that they've done it, is that will affect some of you guys when you do connecting flights. So if you were to go, let's say you want to go to maybe Lyon, and you were to arrive at Charles de Gaulle, well, there's no connecting flight. The connecting flight will be a train. I think.
But that's not the end of the world in a way, because
no, it's not,
because the station is in the airport at Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah. No, hold on. I think it's not in Lyon and Bordeaux.
No.
I think it's not Rennes yet. Yeah, so it's Paris to Nantes, Lyon and Bordeaux. But Bordeaux is very, very popular to go to for the wine region, obviously.
My dad lives near Bordeaux, and I think he would always say the train would be easier anyway.
Yeah, the trains are. I mean, we'll talk about trains a bit later when we talk about Florence, because you mentioned in your Attaché episode how a lot of people would come to Florence by train. In Europe, actually, trains are always a very good choice. And in France, they're pretty good, actually. What else I wanted to see? Oh, yeah, the other change, we mentioned earlier, the fact that we'll be able to do 5G calls, maybe, apparently, at least they're authorized next year in the EU. It was all over the headlines. The fact that the 100 millimeter limit will be shelved next year with the introduction of these new,
3D
detection
scanner
machines
deals, yeah.
that are finally arriving in the UK. I think there's already a few lines at Heathrow that have it.
T2 has them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think T5 a few. I'm not sure. Anyway, point is, yeah, but what if layovers? You still have to be mindful of that, because if you were to fly with a layover, since it's the name of our show, to an airport that only allows 100 mil, yeah, it starts to be like you have to be a little bit. You have to create a strategy before just saying, I can take anything I want.
No, exactly, and that is going to catch out a lot of people. I feel it's just not good. I mean, it's great for the vast majority of flights, and I think that these 3D scanners it also means you need to take out your laptop from your bag or electronics. So I think it's great.
Yeah, in that sense, I mean, we've seen them. Maybe you've seen them. Amsterdam has those machines already. That doesn't mean that they've lifted the 100 mil limit, just that you don't have to take anything out.
Yeah.
So now the discussion is about, should we lift that limit, which was created. Was it because one of the terrorist attempts, I think 20 years ago or something?
I think the one going to Detroit, maybe. I can't remember.
Anyway, we'll see. Well, a few feedbacks. Mileage Runner. What a great. But Steve Tao, with a great handle you have there. It was funny because this morning or yesterday, I comment the games on Twitter, and when you go on Twitter, you put hashtag and the name of the country by its 3-letter name, FIFA, and France is FRA, F-R-A, and I said I love FRA, and he replied, well, I thought hell froze over. You love Frankfurt Airport. No, I love France, not Frankfurt Airport. But you had a question, and I wanted to give it out to you, Alex. Do you have any hacks for transiting through T3 at Heathrow, is Emerald in One World? Because he says, what's the easiest way? Because apparently there's no fast track at T3. So your status doesn't matter, basically. So is it? No.
I don't think there is a hack, because you go through this separate area for transit only. So you go then through security and all of that stuff. There's no.
Yeah, because he said he actually did. He spent an hour with no fast track to go through that T3, and he just made his flight. And he was thinking, is it not easier actually to get out and go back in? Because actually you will have the fast track at the terminal, so maybe that's
a good question.
That's what I thought. I mean, he's American. I guess, Steve, you're American, so
I would probably
US passport, you have the e-gates. So
I would say yes.
You should.
I would say yes.
Me too.
It depends on where your gate is. Oh, it doesn't really matter, because if you still have to walk through the yeah, I would probably say it's faster to go out.
Yeah, and even he said he asks if you had to transit between T5 and T3, you could take the Heathrow Express or even the tube.
I wonder, though, thinking about it, if you are a transit passenger and your bags are checked through.
Okay, well.
But let's even not say no bags. If you're a transit passenger and then you try and enter Heathrow on a boarding pass scanner, is it going to go, you shouldn't be here, you should be in the transit area?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you have your boarding pass, after all, no one precludes you from leaving the terminal and coming back in. To the point we said earlier, let's pretend Steve is a smoker. You probably are not, Steve. Sorry to put you on the spot. And you want to get out to have a cigarette because there's no way to have a cigarette. And you just had a long flight. You have another one.
I'm just thinking of sticking points.
You can't go out. So authorities don't have to say to tell you, hey, why did you get out? You shouldn't have.
I think that I would do that. I wouldn't have thought to do that until this hypothetical was not hypothetical. You had to endure it.
Yeah, for us, it's hard to. I asked you the question because maybe you had a different idea, but it's true that for us, it's not a transit airport.
No,
it used to be for me, but it's a home airport, so we don't really know.
I've transited through Heathrow maybe 4 or 5 times,
yeah, me too, yeah.
And it was painful, and
it was not great. Yeah.
If you have to change terminal, it's even more painful.
Yeah. Hence, he asked, actually, would it be actually easier?
If you had to
get out?
change
Because in
terminals,
Paris,
I would say no.
I told you guys a long time ago as well, when I would do that in Charles de Gaulle, so not Terminal 1, not the old one, but the big one. I would actually go out, and of course I have a Swiss passport, European passport, so I'm fast-tracked, for immigration purposes. I would go out and go back in because it was usually faster than wait for that damn bus that goes only clockwise or anti-clockwise forever, and you miss your flight, and nobody cares, and they're on strike anyway. So, sorry. I mean, I cannot even do that joke about being on strike because the UK is on strike every 5 seconds, like you said earlier. Even border force to enter the UK during the festive season, that will be fun. Look, Steve, sorry, we don't really have an answer. But if any one of you has done it many times, has done transit through Heathrow and has found any hack to go faster, or maybe your experience of going out and go back in, especially if you have a passport that allows you to do so, let us know.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Because I've no idea. We have a review. 5 stars by Premium Label. Kind of like your username on Apple Podcast. The title of the review is Always Spot On, and the description is wonderful podcast for airplane fans and avid travelers, and is from Canada. See, I don't know what the buttons are anymore. I don't know which one. I'm going to go this one.
You've never been to Canada?
You know, exactly. So I've never been to Canada. So thank you, Premium Label, for actually giving us 5 stars. Thank you. And I've seen that a lot of people actually have suddenly given us stars on Spotify as well.
Thank you.
Which is very kind. And 5 stars, we're 5 stars, so I guess everybody gave us 5.
That's very kind.
Very, very kind indeed. We are... I never know if I should trust those, because we are apparently in the top 10% of most followed podcasts on Spotify. But as well, it is, you're one of the 1% most influential person on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Do that sometimes. So I don't know what to believe, but we're happy that you guys are listening.
Nice to know that somebody's out there.
Even if you're only 3, we would be very, very, very happy. We are a soundtrack, Alex. I mean, we kind of knew that because a lot of people listen to us in flight. But we had two messages on Twitter that were very similar, actually. First, the one from, I don't know if it's the right order, it doesn't matter, for Trent Prestigar at Trentus Juventus. In the airport, that was on December 1st. In the airport on my first overseas trip in almost 3 years, and this is the perfect soundtrack.
Oh, that's nice.
That's very nice.
And I hope you enjoyed wherever it is you went in your airport experiences, how you remembered it.
The location of, and I don't know if if I can trust the location, but sometimes on Twitter you can see the location of between Taiwan.
Oh, so jealous.
And Taiwan, so that was the main airport, so TPE. So I hope you had a great flight, Trent. And Zed Marken, Zan, who also said that's 2 for 2 this month, because we had 2 episodes released the same month, I think in November. Waiting for my flight at Heathrow and discovered the newest Layovers episode just landed. Best soundtrack for plane commute.
Yeah, that's nice. Zan's a good guy.
Cool.
Really good guy.
So thank you so much. He often writes to us, and he writes very glorious reviews about us.
Much appreciated. That means he's been getting the text.
Really, guys. It's always nice to have these coming in. And Martin Hammer at the Saint S85. Martin, the Saint used to be my handle on everything in pre-Twitter. Everything we're talking about user boards and BBSs and stuff. I used to be the Saint because I love that TV show. So Martin says that he got the, I just mentioned Spotify. With your Spotify Wrapped, you can get includes your top podcast. And he says that we could lay over. His first podcast is the Next Trip podcast. Guys, Doug and Drew, hi guys. It's a great podcast. They release every single week.
Wow.
They're very dedicated. And actually, now, of course, as I say it, I forgot. Doug became pilot.
Oh, cool.
For 777, I think. He was, remember when you were on a break just before the pandemic? He came to do a show with me. So he's now
fantastic.
Now pilot. So we will, We'll invite you guys
Would
at
love
some
to-
point.
to
Promise.
do that.
We're very bad with guests, as you guys know. And he says, so coming back to the mention of Martin, that we could have been much higher up the list, but considering the duration of each of our shows, it's normal that we are only number 5 on his list. But to be honest, even if you were to record for 3 or 4 hours of playtime, you would be very happy. You are my personal number 1.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
kind.
That's
Wow.
very kind, Martin. Thank you. Yeah.
No one wants to hear us talk for 3 or 4 hours, except him.
Yes. By the way, I know, guys, I've said it. I don't want to repeat it on every show, but sometimes it's good to reset the room for the new. When you give us feedback, we don't always comment because sometimes we don't have time. We could do like an entire 2 hours of show just about your comments, whether it's by email, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, everywhere. So we're getting a lot. So I pick a few. And it's true that I tend to, maybe it's unfair, but coming back to the very top of the show, the very loyal people, the names that I keep seeing, it's nice to kind of also acknowledge because, Zan, for instance, writes 25 tweets now, I'm exaggerating, but like a lot to us, very like with information or like telling how cool it was. So I think it's only due that I from time to time mention those guys. So meaning that if you write and we don't mention you, it doesn't mean that we don't like you.
Oh,
guys,
gosh, no.
We don't have time.
Much appreciated.
We tend to notice, sometimes we don't. But
Really appreciated.
yes, we do. Where am I? I had written some notes. Oh yeah, we had oh my God. Lots of feedback about Jeddah.
Yeah,
I'm not
that
going to
was-
go through
listen,
today because
I'm going to give some feedback. That was the most exquisite storytelling. The whole bit, it was such a deviation from what we normally do about just the plane parts, the airports at part, but just hearing the rest of it was just captivating. I just really, you're a better travel. I'm not a journalist or anything like that, but than I am. So I was just mesmerized for that
That's
whole
very
thing.
good. Thank you.
Now you maybe want to go before I evaporate into the sun, apparently.
he's becoming whiter by the minute, guys. You don't see his eyes, so he's out of work now. Thank you. I don't know how to take compliments, but thank you. And a lot of people said similarly that they wanted to go now. So I'm not a travel agent. I'll try to reply individually to all of you because they say, how many days should I go? So I'll give you, but not here because it's not the purpose of the show. It will take too long. But I just wanted to mention one, because then I want to move on. But one bit that was really funny is that there was one thing that I didn't think twice about when I mentioned it that created a lot of uproar about what I said. You remember when I talked about the fact that whether or not so I had cash and I arrived at Jeddah Airport and I wanted to find a bank to switch my cash and I didn't want to use a card and blah. I mean, I know that we have a lot of people that are heavy travelers and also that they play with 25 different credit cards, and I'm not saying that in any condescending way because we don't do. But I admire actually people that are able to have this mental.
It's exactly that's why I don't do it.
The mental flexibility to have like, oh, I need to buy that coffee with this card because I'm this country. I just don't. I have one main card, 2 backup cards, and pretty much it, right? And we're not stupid. I have a card that has no fee, foreign transaction. Yeah. I have a card that, these things like. However, obviously, that you're trying to change your white, but it's still not working. You're now brown white. Suddenly you're set.
Oh, no, I did it. I think the camera's just.
So anyway, that created an uproar that, Paul, you shouldn't go and change cash because if you exchange cash in a foreign country, you should know better. You're a good traveler. And I was like, guys, they didn't say that in a way that was, I make the voice, right? It was really funny how a little detail that I didn't even think through. So yes, it is true. Guys, and I'm going to say once and then we're never going to address this again. It is true that it's better usually to have a no foreign fee card, and you go to an ATM and you take the money, and that's going to be your best bet, and not actually doing currency exchange at the airport because you're probably going to get screwed at the arrival airport, right? So it's true. And it's also true that it's when you buy something or you do an exchange, you sometimes have this thing, Alex, you've probably had 25 million times. You put your card and say, do you want to pay in local currency? Do you want to pay? I mean, do not do not choose foreign. Choose the local currency. Don't choose yours. I think it's a human behavior because he feels comfortable to choose your own, and they know that. But then they can apply whichever currency exchange they want, and they will F you over. So it's true that in general, it's easier, it's better to just say you choose a local currency, and because otherwise they'll pocket the difference.
You get the rate negotiated through Visa, MasterCard, or Amex when you pick the local currency, which is always going to be better. Paul, I'm going to close my curtain.
Okay, cool. He does that, and I keep continuing about that card thing. He doesn't have to react. It's true that he's like, there's like so much sun. He lives like on the International Space Station right now. So yes. Oh yeah, he's
better.
Wow. Suddenly it's much better. Yeah, you're about to get fried.
I don't know what's going on with this anyway, but yeah, there we are.
So all of you, I'll mention Martin Bernanderson at Marbe166. Yes. The reason I had cash is because I have too much dollars, and I just wanted to kind of use them, not like thousands, but just wanted to use them on travels because I haven't been traveling. And it was a good opportunity because the pound crashed, and I said, I don't want to use my pounds now, I'd rather use the dollar. Anyway, point is, it's true. Choose a no-fee card, and that's it. But it was really the reason I mentioned Martin, because in his message to me and us about that comment, he said the only exception where you wouldn't do ATM is maybe countries with very volatile currencies. The British pound in 2 months ago. Honestly, the British pound 2 months ago, guys, you guys would not live here when your entire currency changed from overnight with the dollar, and you paid a lot in dollar, like I am, and probably Alex is as well. It's it's good because of the dollar. But it's we work. So that's why I had cash anyway. Case closed. I don't want to talk about this anymore. But it's to take a no-fee card. In the UK, there's not that many. I think Barclays does that, no fee. They will still sometimes screw you with currency exchange. You know that HSBC, which I bank with, when we voted for Brexit and the pound crashed also back then, for 3 months, maybe I'm exaggerating, but for like at least weeks later, they were still applying a pre-crash currency exchange. So they were really screwing you on the currency exchange. So when people tell me that, you have to be super smart about using your cards, I'm like, but sometimes they will screw you anyway.
That's how they make money.
Anyway, let's... Sorry. Kobus, welcome to Europe.
Yeah, Kobus. What a legend.
Welcome to Europe. We will. I told him we have to invite him now. He's going to also... he was already in a very close time zone, but I don't know why suddenly the fact that he lives in Madrid makes me want to invite him on the show that he talks about.
Moved from one great city to another great city, Cape Town to Madrid.
Yes, amazing. Kobe, you arrived in you're basically going to fly only 320 from now on. This is what happens when you live in Europe.
Nothing exciting anymore. Which is probably good when you're flying.
He told me that he had moved his kind of loyalty and habit from Emirates towards Qatar. And he triggered a memory because he posted a story about that when he was doing that move. I wanted to mention it last time, but I forgot. Qatar, Doha, has opened their new part of the airport, so the north part of the airport. And it has a glorious garden. Luxurious gardens with water features, and it's green, and it's super big, and I haven't seen it yet, and it was planned for a while, and I'm super happy that they did. They're also opening an Al Murhan, that's one of my favorite lounges, Al Murhan North, which will be, of course, the business lounge for the north part of the airport, which looks on the pictures and renderings amazing as well. There's going to be also, I think, a first class and a few other, non-Qatar first and business class lounges as well. So it looks really fantastic. He put some pictures, and I think it's the lounge, the Al Murhan, will be, 9,000 meters.
Holy cannoli.
It's the world's largest airport lounge.
Wow.
That's what I've heard. I don't know. It's crazy, man. That's for the guys in the US. That's 97,000 square feet. I guess 98,000 square feet. That's huge, man. It's absolutely huge. And the indoor garden that I just mentioned is about 10,000 meters square. There's a water feature, and there's a new hotel as well. There's a Oryx Hotel in the, I guess we call it South now. I don't know, Central, whatever. There's going to be a hotel. So yeah, it's really, they wanted to open it, I guess, for the World Cup. It's not fully ready. They were just in time. It looks cool. And of course, when you talk about luxurious garden in an airport, which airport do you think about, Alex? Exactly. And Al Baker, our friend Al Baker, said that Singapore stole Doha's idea, but they were just faster in actually making it happen.
What? Okay. Dude.
This guy, you said, I have the quote, somebody copied our design, which was already on the table 6 years ago. I will not name who, but they took it and did it themselves. Yeah, right.
It's like all your friends who are like, I came up with the idea for eBay way before they did. I'm like, what? Did you do it?
I invented travel. No, man, exactly. Anyway, there's no, when I say water feature, there's no like huge waterfall that I know of. So Shanghai still wins on that. Akbar, which is Akbar Al Baker. Anyway, look, we're just gonna go fast now because I want you to. I wanted to mention one thing. Yeah, the last 747 was ever.
That was sad. I was actually surprised in a good way, the outpouring of emotion, positive and negative, that I received just generally in the coverage it got. It was it's a sad thing after 50 plus years, but big, beautiful 748 going to Atlas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's a freighter, obviously, guys. That's but yeah, it's end of an era, I guess. I mean, we knew it.
Somewhere up there, I've got my model of the prototype.
Oh, by the way, hold on. You don't have your Virgin thing back then anymore. You have a different. It's in a different
airplane.
Oh no, the picture. Oh, the photo.
Yeah, it's over there now.
And you have LVK.
LVK. That is the airport in Livermore, California, which just cracked Fusion Energy, where I learned how to fly.
I love how you mix Fusion Energy and learn how to fly.
It's even got the right runway designation on it too, so I saw that and had to get it.
That's very cool. That looks like a very nice. Sorry, guys, because I mentioned that, and none of you can actually, because this is a podcast and audio only, so you cannot see. So you can't wait for us to stream at some point, right? Since we talked 747, 380, Etihad is bringing their ones back. They're going to come to London. That's the one with the residence, which unattainable, super high.
I think we all kind of assumed that that was never coming. Well, didn't they say that was never coming back?
Yeah, but they all said it. Even Al Baker early. Never gonna. It was the biggest mistake. Oh, but by the way, it's on the London route now, the 380. Lufthansa is bringing them all back. They had already, I think, 3 or 4 all back by next summer because they need them for leisure. And that they will be flying from Munich. Thank God, not Frankfurt. But which is bad because Frankfurt has a 747-8i, which I really want to fly once more.
And a couple of 400s as well.
Yeah, I think those are not in service anymore. I don't know. I'm not sure. But we shared that image. So these Lufthansa's 380s were parked in Spain, I believe. And they had to do one of the 380s had to be flown back to Frankfurt, actually, for some reason, because that's where the hangars are, with the gears out. And aluminum foil on them. That's crazy. It shows you how affected they have been by being parked.
I know, absolutely. And I think that there's pre-pandemic, maybe even still now, the expertise in storing airplanes long haul or for long term was so concentrated in a few areas, the Mojave Desert and places in Australia,
obviously,
that the need for that expertise was minimal to bring them back online. And I think that's caught a lot of airlines off guard.
Yeah. Yeah, and the 380, by the way, from Lufthansa will not be retrofitted inside, which still means they have a end of life that is at some point, because Lufthansa are in. So finally, they will have their new business class, their new first class. They look pretty cool, actually. We've seen the images, right? And so it's not going to be a Hainan or Philippine Airlines because they keep having the planes they bought, and they say, "Look at our new first class." No, this is Hainans. Look at our new first class. No, this is Philippine Airlines, guys. So now they will actually have their proper one. The first class looks good, and good news, the 748 will be retrofitted.
Oh, that's
which
good.
means they plan to
good.
keep going with us. Yeah. Yeah, that's super nice. And by the way, if you really are someone who loves to try new products, they will be appearing at Lufthansa, the 350 from Munich first. That's where you need to go. Swiss, because it's part of the Lufthansa group, will also get new seats. And since we're talking about bringing aircrafts back from deserts, etc., BA has reportedly more than 50 broken Club World business class seats across their 380.
I believe it. I've read so many people on Flyer Talk saying it didn't work.
And the problem is, because of supply chain issues that we've had generally, and we still have generally in the world, the seat manufacturer doesn't have the right pieces, thus cannot repair the seats, thus BA is waiting, but this also creates, I've seen pictures when people have no trays, and the food, and you're in business class and you pay this, especially right now these days, the amount of money, and you have your food on
That's
your
okay.
knees.
They probably got 5,000 Navios for it, so it works out.
And Qantas reports similar problems with 380. So yeah, it's just the fact that they've been
exactly. We were in uncharted territory here.
Big machine. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. I think Emirates, to what I mentioned last time, is just edging their bets and saying, since they're retrofitting everything, this is why I ended up having bad luck having a seat that didn't really work, because they say, we're not going to replace seat by seat, we're just going to do entire refits for the entire aircrafts one by one. So this is probably, at some point it will be solved, but they're not trying to fix. The crew was really apologetic last time. They were like, they keep saying, this is so old, this is so old, this is so old. I'm like, well, but there's a retrofit coming. Anyway, Florence, how was that? The episode of Attaché is Out is very nice. As always, I don't know what to say else because it's very nice. Haven't been to Florence myself in a while. I think last time I passed by, didn't really visit. The pass by was 2013. But my experience of Florence dates from the 90s, because it's one of these cities, I don't know if to explain that for someone who's not European. Vienna as well. There's cities you do when you are young, and they're part either of our school trips or because you don't have a lot of money when you're like young professional, and there was pre low cost. And I've done them all, and I'm not really interested in doing them again. Not in a bad way, just that I've done them and I'd rather do something else. So how did you like as a first timer, and how did you go there?
I'm going to be different. So I felt the same way that you did. I think, and I was talking about this with Greg and with Megan. Megan came with us, and it was her fourth time in Florence.
You mentioned she appeared in the episode, which is super nice.
She does. Nice. And she had great tips on where to go and getting around and all of that stuff. But I can see for Americans why, and it's very tourist heavy, and predominantly with Americans, I can see why they find it so appealing, because it's not Rome or Milan where it can be overwhelming, and there's so many of the scams that you get in every city, and places like Paris. When you're standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, it's the same thing when you're standing in front of the Colosseum. Or it's just that kind of takes the sheen off of it. If you're not from a big city in the U.S., then that type of experience is going to maybe be a little bit intimidating. But Florence is tiny, but beautiful. Sure. It's almost like Disneyland, because it doesn't look real in many regards. It looks, but for us,
it's well preserved,
well maintained,
contained. It's easy to navigate.
It's easy to get around. It's not overwhelming. It's got all of the kind of storybook features to it, and I can see why people find it captivating. If you've never, but for us, we're so lucky here in Europe that we have a dozen of those cities within 2-hour flights, and they're all over the place, and so
My point.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it was,
And it's one of these typical, sorry to interrupt, one of those typical cities that I was born and raised in Geneva, so Florence is very near in a way, especially by train.
tend
We
to
would
overlook-
do school trips, like we were talking high school trips by train, and it's perfect because, like you just said, it's small enough, close enough, so you don't get lost or whatever.
enough to do, enough to see, good food, and all of that.
Yeah, great.
So I liked it very much. I thought it was very, very beautiful, very photogenic. So it made the episode really easy, very walkable, which is always good for an attaché shoot, and close to the airport. So we didn't necessarily choose to go there. We worked with a sponsor who presented us with two options, and it was the obvious choice for me anyway. And it also looking, that was it was never very high on the list, because for the exact reasons that you just said. It's you sort of tend to overlook it and go slightly more exotic looking around. But
but probably for someone who lives in the US or in Asia,
that's their exotic.
You want to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is
absolutely,
exotic.
and I can completely understand why. And it was a perfectly lovely city, like I said, made for a very beautiful episode. And it also, like looking at the flights, in terms of timing, it meant that I could go out of my favorite airport in the UK, London City, because
nice.
The timings just didn't work out any other way. The low cost carriers out of Gatwick just wasn't going to work. Even flying into Pisa, which is very well connected to Florence via train.
That's the one I did. I'll talk about
which is a bigger airport, more frequencies and all of that. The timings just didn't work out. We would lose too much filming time. So I thought, and I was also like making excuses to not go to Pisa so we could go out of London City. And I had been bigging up this airport to Megan as much as one can big up an airport to a non-AV geek. It's great. It's this and it's that, and it's you can go from the curb to the gate in like a minute because the security's so fast because everybody's a business traveler and they know what they're doing. It's got all these great views and it's got all these great, there's a couple of really good restaurants, and I'm bigging it up. I'm like so excited. Drive to which I'd never done before actually. Drove to city because it just, the timings worked out for us, and it's actually not that hard to get to from where I live now. And you walk up and I'm excited, and there's planes landing right in front of you on that causeway of a runway. Get up to security, and the line is like back up to the passport check. And I was like, well, this is an inauspicious start. And I'm looking, and we get to around the corner, and there's only one security lane open in the entire airport. And that is also for crew and staff as well. So every single person is, and there's maybe 8 lanes available. But kind of a throwback to our comments just a moment ago, the only lane that was open was the only lane with one of these new 3D scanners.
Oh.
So they were only using that one, and they were training people on how to use it as well. So while the line seemed long, we actually all went through quite quickly because you didn't have to take any of your stuff out of your bag. Of course, no one realized that. They did a lousy job of telling you that keep everything in your bag. So people were futzing with things, and they're like, no, just put it in and go through. And so it took much longer than it used to. They had the same Gatwick South Terminal problem in that things closed during the pandemic and never reopened. Construction projects were started but never finished or put on hold. So there wasn't a lot going on in terms of amenities, and that's a very, very small terminal as it is. They'd had approval, and then I think it might have been taken away by Boris Johnson himself because he was so obsessed with his mega airport in the Thames estuary. Anyway, they had to build a parallel taxiway because right now you taxi back down the runway when you land. And extend the terminal. I don't know what the status of that is. Now they focus on, and all of the hoardings, all of the advertising space was, we're going to be a carbon neutral airport, Europe's first carbon neutral airport. That's their their tack right now strategically. But after the security delays and kind of looking a bit sheepish, going, it's normally not this bad, I promise. Coming out into the terminal, like, but at least there's a view. We'll get a cup of coffee, and we'll sit on these stools that they have that overlook the ramp, and you see all the planes coming. It's very exciting. Turn around the corner, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then she's like, where are the views? And all these beautiful windows, which look out onto the Docklands and to the there's just a freaking building. Yeah.
What?
Built something maybe 15 feet in front of the windows.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it looks
no.
like not a temporary structure. I think it's supposed to house construction equipment and just general airport. There's just nothing where you normally sit in that main concourse area.
Yeah.
Once you get out to the gates area, and they've modernized the whole gate corridor, if you will.
Yeah.
So you have, because before it was sort of like going into a play. You're like, it feels like I'm playing like Half-Life or something here. Maybe I don't think I should be here. But they've done the whole thing. That looks great.
Where's
Yeah,
more
exactly.
health?
Face
More
is
health?
going to come up.
I need the extra weapon.
Find a crowbar. They've done all that. It's lovely and bright and airy. There's little coffee shops and all of that stuff there.
But sorry to interrupt. Imagine now how cool it would be that loot boxes would be extra happy to find them.
An upgrade.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that bit was nice to see that finally completed. And when you do get out of that main concourse, and you get the views and all of that stuff, and you board via the ramp as you always do. And of course, I flipping love that. And I was telling Megan all these boring stories about how it had the steepest angle of approach of any blah, 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 blah. And you had to be specially trained to shoot the blah, 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 blah. But you're up on an Embraer 190. And again, we've talked about this in the past that City Flyer are generally better than BA mainline because it's a separate airline with a different culture and different, and it was good. We were just in economy, very simple, easy flight over to Florence. They give you,
Over Switzerland.
yeah, so we
the Alps.
flew down the Innsbruck, or kind of adjacent to the valley that Innsbruck is in. You look down and you can see all the way down to Innsbruck, that beautiful, beautiful valley that Innsbruck is in.
Yeah.
And then down into Florence, you get a snack and a coffee, a vegan millionaire snack, which is a millionaire shortbread. It just said vegan millionaire, and I was like, I am not. And then you take a bus from Florence from the airplane into the terminal, and then it's all very, very easy from there. But I still love London City Airport. Coming back in, it did live up to those expectations of off the airplane and in the curb in a minute. We arrived on a Sunday, so the place was empty. Absolutely.
You're talking about Florence?
No,
here.
London City. Florence as an airport is reasonably inconsequential. There's not a lot going on there. I can't even remember much of it, to be completely honest with you. Other than they've extended the tram line all the way out to the airport. That's new as of 2019. So getting into Florence itself is very, very easy.
I think I went. So clearly, the first time I went to Florence, I took the train. And you mentioned in your episode, most likely is that if you live in Europe, you'll be arriving by train.
Train station.
Yeah, it's super well connected, exactly. And that was in the 90s, but I can't remember exactly. I think then I went in 97, I'm pretty sure I went. And that I might have been with the plane. No, it was later because EasyJet was only started in Switzerland. You know, there's EasyJet Switzerland, only started in 99 because EasyJet bought an former charter airline, whatever. What I remember is the airport was still called Americo Vespucci.
Yes.
Americo, which is now the name of America. Is it apocryphal that the guy ever went to America? There's a big controversy, but anyway, the point is I think they removed that name.
Yeah.
And but I don't remember anything about that airport. Like it's
No,
not
it's
very
not.
big,
It's not very
right?
big. It's dated. It was pretty busy. I mean, no, and I don't mean that in a condescending or insulting.
Yeah.
It's old, and not particularly noteworthy in any regard.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing that you can remember about. I would say that it usually applies to a lot of Italian airports.
Yeah, and when you leave, you kind of it's a very strange airport with one of those lounges like we were describing at the top of the show. That's just a sort of box with no windows. And you go. They're sort of temporarily, but now permanently connected an addition to the terminal. So you walk down effectively a jet bridge to another section of the terminal. It's weird.
Oh, wow.
So it feels like, and I don't know if they have the capacity to justify any major renovations or anything like that. But we weren't hanging around. Immigration was fast. Security was easy.
Just worked.
So nothing to complain about. Sure.
Yeah. Of course. It seems, to your point, it seems that all the airports in Italy are made by the same
Yes.
contractors. Because they always look the gates look. It's in Spain. Sometimes it's also similar. Like the gates are always the same. The layout, the bridges. Besides Fiumicino, the new Fiumicino, the new part of Fiumicino is really nice. But okay. So, but it worked, which is what you
It
want.
worked. Yeah, exactly. It was both flights were reasonably on time. And again, like I'm a big fan of City Flyer, a big fan of London City Airport. So it was nice to get back to those old friends.
And what about because we ended the episode last time, and when I said, "Do you like Florence?" you said, "Yeah." So was it because of what you just said? Because it's not that big and it's easy, and because both of us we've been. It's horrible to say, but it's not blasé. But we've been doing so many cities in our lifetimes that this doesn't impress us anymore. Maybe is that why you said, or was it?
I think there was a little bit of that. The beauty of the city and its importance in history was not lost on me. I mean, it's the most important city in Europe for centuries, and that wasn't lost on me, and that was fascinating. And I look at a city through a different lens when I'm there filming. Literally, and Greg's the one looking through the actual lens. I'm looking at it with very different eyes. Than I would if I was there purely for recreation.
Walking around and
we don't go into museums and do all in art galleries, which ordinarily I would do. But I'm looking at it going, that's a picturesque alley to do this link.
Yes.
We did a food tour as part of the episode. That was great, very interesting. But yeah, it's. I think because Asia has been taken away from me/us, that I'm looking for the exotic a bit more. But in isolation, lovely city.
But
lovely,
that's
lovely,
because we're that's because
Yeah.
we're Europeans as well. Again, it's we've been around and we've seen. It's maybe someone from I don't know Asia, or that's a too wide of a continent, but might say similar things about. I mean, let's say someone from Thailand, having lived for 40 years in Thailand, might say, "Yeah, well, I love Thailand, I get it, but bring me the culture of the ancient culture of Europe or
It's like
or
somebody
South
going
America,
from
whatever."
who lives in Miami going to Chicago and going, oh.
Sorry, that's my blinder. So you see, I'm super white. My
scary.
phone just went up by itself.
Yeah,
Holy
we clearly
cow.
pissed off the spirit of the Medici, but
The gods.
But yeah, no, it's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative, and it's easy to take what we do for granted. And I was trying not to do that.
Yeah. No, but I'm happy that you report that because I have my experience in Florence have not always been fantastic. Let's put it that way. The first times, I was, when you're like 18, whatever, it was fun. We had fun. We're not stupid, but it was nice and easy to, like we just said, to visit. And I mean, was I appreciating the food when I was that age?
No, I
I'm not
certainly
sure.
wouldn't have.
The same way that I do now. But I remember clearly one time when I went, I think that was the second time. That's probably been when I might have been with the plane. So maybe we're talking early 2000s or something. There was, in that train station, because I was doing from Florence, then I went to other places around. So I wanted to use the train, and trust me, the train back 25 years ago was not as good as now, because Italy has admittedly improved a lot in their trains. It used to be really shitty, really like nothing was working, no time, no respect of the schedule, whatever. But the way I was treated in the train station was really bad. As in, I back then spoke Spanish because I had been living a little bit in Costa Rica. Of course, French because it's the first language I ever learned. And so it's only later that I dated an Italian and I started to learn Italian, meaning that my Italian was non-existent. But when you have both of French and Spanish, I was trying to simply ask for the directions of which timetable was according to the destination. They were like just treating me like shit, honestly. And that happened like it. We're talking here mostly civil servant type of interactions. And that time I said, you know what? I'm never coming back to your city. I'm never coming back to your city because it was kind of already back then. It was a lot of tourists because it always attracted tourists. We keep talking about over tourism nowadays, but that was one of the early signs of over tourism. And maybe there were like enough of tourists and they were already kind of sometime, and maybe the guy was in a bad day, but that didn't.
Yeah, I can understand that.
In my mouth, and I didn't want to. I mean, I said I passed by in 2013. Since we're an aviation podcast, I passed by. I did what you didn't do. I went through Pisa because it seemed easier. I had friends actually getting married nearby, not in Florence itself. Pisa is. I don't think we've ever done it. I think it's also nondescript, kind of non-memorable.
Setting a trend here.
And the lounge, I said at the very end of our last show, it's vomit. It's because, when, sorry guys, close your ears or reduce the sound if you don't like to talk about these excrements from your mouth when you vomit, but it's exactly laid out as a vomit, that the chairs are just, how it is when you vomit, there's stuff in the ground, it smells bad, it's not appetizing at all, and you want to just not look at it and just get the F out of the smell and the looks. That's exactly what that lounge, it's the worst lounge I've ever been in my life, the one in Pisa. There was really, it was overcrowded, again, like a piece of vomit. There's stuff, it doesn't make sense. The seats were not placed in pretty weird positions, like looking at each other, where the feet touching each other with other people. There was no windows whatsoever. It was smelly. It was actually smelly. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the lounge. It was kind of moldy. Talking 2013, maybe it has changed. The colors were disgusting, and the food was non-existent. And what was there for a country that knows their food, Italian food is probably my favorite food in the world. It was one of the, it was disgusting. So yeah, no. That airport, no, and that especially that lounge, no. Hopefully, maybe it's changed because we're talking about 9 years ago. But my experience in that airport wasn't great. I would still, if I want to go in the region, because there's this thing about getting married in Tuscany, so I would probably get again to Pisa or Florence. But these are not
not the airports. Certainly aren't.
Yeah, it's. But maybe let's put maybe we are a bit blasé is not the right term. Maybe we
jaded.
We are Europeans. We've lived in this continent for so long that for us we want sometimes a difference that is different from us, and thus cities around us are closer to what we know.
I think it's familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. For me, no, you're right. Actually,
for a second,
it's. So fly back, everything was fine. So BA City Flyer was.
They're good. They're efficient. I like them. The service is, you get a snack and a cup of coffee, and you don't have to pay for it. Which I know is coming back to BA mainline, but City were always the ones that had a slightly better kind of feel to it. I like them. I like that airplane. It's a comfortable, quiet, fun.
Oh, which airplane was
E190.
Yeah, Embraer. Yeah.
I do
love
too.
those.
I do too. So
I really love those. I love the fact that the windows are slightly different shape.
Yeah, it's
more
almost all
square-ish.
Yeah. So I liked that. It was a good trip all around. Brief but good.
And great episode, guys. Watch it. It's always it's one of those that are more like telling you how to go. But I liked it. It was and yeah, it's not to diminish, like you just said, not to diminish Greg's, because he always is so perfect and on point in his video skills and artistic.
Yeah, there's always something that pulls my.
But yeah, that city is. Me as a photographer, I understand what you said. That's the look. That's what I also look for that alley, because that's the best pictures. I don't want to take pictures of stuff that everybody knows, and these are very easy cities to do that.
That's so true.
I like that. So anyway, not sure. Probably not another episode before the end of the year. We'll see, because we already have we have a final to go, and then Christmas. Maybe the final is Christmas. So you're not flying anymore in this year, I think. But you just mentioned you're going to fly early next year to the US. So, but you haven't chosen which airline yet. Ha. Me, as over a year, I will fly probably in February. But that's what I do every year. I never usually fly in January. There was an exception, I think 2016 and 2019, maybe. But I never fly in January, so I know these rules don't apply anymore because we're in a different world. But I'm not flying before January, so our next episode will be maybe just reminiscing about the old times, and I'm just gonna f it up again with the sound. Which button is it for the end credits? Now that I've changed it, I didn't label it. Let's see. Probably is that.
There we are.
I think no. That's that's the one. Oh man,
Good times.
So, but did Megan be a city flyer?
I don't think she was as enthusiastic as I was, but I wouldn't expect her to be.
Care.
No, but I think she was. I think she liked Norse too. She was impressed by that.
And did she like city?
Yes. After I think the departure, not so much the arrival. Like, wait, we're already outside. Yeah, that's why I like this place.
How is that possible? Amazing. Thank you, guys. That was beautiful. Maybe see you in January at some point before Alex flies for another episode. We'll see. Was great. Thank you for all the feedback all throughout this year. Exactly. And
all right, guys,
safe travels. I got you. You need to say happy flying now.
You fail.
Bye, guys.